We have had 2 full sessions, and I hope a lunch that has given you the energy and the strength to go through the third one. But that if you have had too big a lunch, then that might be negatively affecting you, and you might find that you are feeling a little lethargic. But anyway, let's give it our best, and I have the pleasure and the privilege to welcome the 2 speakers for this session, Mr. Gaurav Kampani, who will give his perspective of the portents of the future, the nuclear future of South Asia. How will the nuclear future of South Asia look like? So it is an extremely interesting and challenging topic. So I am sure you will be happy to listen to our learned speakers on this, and then raise questions that would be coming to your mind in regard to this particular topic. I will first introduce Mr. Gaurav Kampani, who has come from the Atlantic Council and has accompanied Mr. Gopalaswamy. Dr. Gaurav Kampani is a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council South Asia Center. He is an assistant professor of political science at the University of Tulsa. From 2013 to 2014, he was a postdoctoral transatlantic fellow in international relations and security at the Norwegian Institute of Defense Studies, Oslo. Between 1998 and 2005, Dr. Kampani was a senior research associate at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies in Monterey, California. 2010 to 11, he was a Stanford Nuclear Security Fellow at Stanford University's Center for International Security and Cooperation. Dr. Kampani's research interests cover international security and focus on the relationship between domestic institutions and strategic policy, military strategy, operations planning, and weapons development. Dr. Kampani's teaching spans world politics, global governance, the U.S. foreign policy, and national security policy and South Asia. So, Dr. Kampani, I now invite you to the rostrum.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm back again, and I hope my comments will not be as offensive as the last time. The talk that I want to give now is more about more of a brainstorming exercise into the various scenarios that could emerge over the next few decades. It is more imaginative, and you will perceive, and some of it might not be real, but so just imagine with me. So the reality today is that Asia is at the epicenter of the second nuclear age. Even as the traditional nuclear powers, the P5, are poised to modernize their aging nuclear arsenals, a three-way arms race is now underway between Pakistan, India, and China. This is a slow motion three-way arms race. It is more salient between India and Pakistan, and less so between China and India. At the far corner is an isolated North Korea, which is developing operational capabilities that are aimed at Northeast Asia and the U.S. interests in the region. The takeaway points from the current arms race in the Asia-Pacific undermine the nuclear optimists, including Kenneth Waltz, and his devotees who argue that nuclear deterrence can be had on the cheap, that it is technically simple to construct, and that nuclear deterrence is self-enforcing. Unlike the Cold War, where the Soviet Union and the United States were primarily focused on each other, and the US's nuclear allies focused exclusively on the Soviet Union. The nuclear competition in the Asia-Pacific is multi-angular. China's nuclear focus encompasses both US and India, while India's focus includes both Pakistan and China. Pakistan is the only nuclear power whose focus is exclusively India, although if Iran were to acquire nuclear capabilities in the future, that might change. So nuclear futures in the Asia-Pacific, the way I see it, can be imagined along 4 dimensions. The first is ugly stability. The second is teetering, what I call teetering instability. The third is detente, and the fourth is rapprochement. So let me begin by unpacking these. The first, ugly stability. Here, there could be continued, and this is what I think is the most realistic scenario that exists as of today. So in this scenario of ugly stability, there would remain continued geopolitical and identity conflicts between India and Pakistan. Pakistan would continue to resort to asymmetric war over Kashmir. India, in turn, would threaten to resort to full-scale conventional war without actually investing in the equipment or making organizational changes in its independent border brigades to execute such a strategy. Pakistan would threaten to transform its tactical nuclear weapons capability, which many believe are forces in being, into an organizational tactical nuclear war fighting capability integrated with conventional forces. On the India-China axis, China and India would not arrive at a border settlement. China would continue to not acknowledge India's nuclear status or the threats from Chinese nuclear capabilities to India. India, in turn, would ignore Pakistan's concerns about an Indian ballistic missile defense and multiple independent re-entry vehicle technology. The nuclear competition would proceed in its current form on a slow simmer against the background of political conflicts and tensions. But all 3 nuclear powers would avoid escalating the conflicts to actual war. Nonetheless, the arsenals would continue expanding on both sides and sophistication without spiraling out of control like the superpowers during the Cold War. The second scenario is what I term teetering instability. This is the worst case scenario. Here, the identity conflict between India and Pakistan would escalate to a higher plane. Pakistan would double down on its asymmetric war strategy against India, and India would retaliate by committing to an asymmetric war strategy against Pakistan by intervening more aggressively in Afghanistan and Baluchistan. India would give teeth to its Cold Start doctrine while Pakistan would take its tactical nuclear weapons beyond the current force in being. Both countries would return to the standoff and limited conflicts of the late 1990s with repeated crises, partial mobilizations, and resort to standoff conventional weapons. The development of a mature nuclear arsenal on both sides would trigger a sustained arms competition with India investing in a ballistic missile defense and in multiple re-entry vehicle programs and threaten counter-force action against Pakistan. This in turn would trigger Pakistan to undertake a massive expansion in the size of its arsenal, as well as incorporate qualitative measures to defeat a potential Indian counter-force strategy. Likewise, in this teetering instability scenario between India and China, the border conflict would turn increasingly active, with China aggressively challenging India's claims in the northeast. India, in turn, would expand its influence in Southeast Asia, revoke its One China policy in the context of Taiwan, and join the US, Australia, and Japan to form a diamond of democracies to enforce international law in the South China Sea. Even if China does not increase the scale of its nuclear arsenal to deal with India on the calculation that its current nuclear force infrastructure is sufficient to deal with India, it would expand its naval presence in the Indian Ocean region, with Indian and Chinese naval rivalry taking on ominous tones. This is the worst case scenario for all parties, and we could see the division of South Asia into 2 blocks. One where a China-Pakistan alliance counters the alliance between the United States and India, with rivalry stretching from the Indian Ocean region to the Middle East to Southeast Asia and the Northern Pacific. In the third scenario, which I call detente, or which I borrow the term detente, the nuclear competitors do not resolve their political disputes, rather, they put them in a deep freeze pending improved political relations. However, the decision to put disputes into deep freeze could enable Pakistan, India, and China to implement some of the most significant lessons of the nuclear revolution. In this scenario, they would have a serious conversation on the meaning of force efficiency. India could reassure Pakistan on the technical limits and footprints of its ballistic missile defense, as well as identify and limit the number of ballistic missiles armed with multiple independent re-entry vehicles. Likewise, China could acknowledge India as a nuclear weapons power, and the two could develop a serious conversation on nuclear sufficiency and address problems of stability related to ballistic missile defense and military programs. Part of Detente would flow from the decision of all three parties to not pursue identity and territorial claims pending their political resolution. In the case of India and Pakistan, this would mean the damping of asymmetric warfare means. In the case of India and China, it would mean renewed confidence-building measures on the border and reduced tensions in the Southeast Asia and the South China Sea. The net effect would be informal and formal agreements on limiting nuclear forces, both technical quality as well as quantity, and preventing the outbreak of a nuclear arms race of the types that cause such waste and a long-term Cold War. In the final rapprochement scenario, one can think of the end of geopolitical rivalries between India and Pakistan and between China and India. Not the end of healthy economic and political competition, but the dangerous political and military competition. In this scenario, India and Pakistan would arrive at a resolution over Kashmir, and both countries would avoid meddling in each other's internal affairs. Their economies would become more integrated, and people contact would grow. The threat of an Indian conventional invasion would become a thing of the past, as would Pakistan's use of non-state actors to pursue asymmetric warfare. Both would agree to a reduction in nuclear force sizes and halt the development of technologies that threaten stability. Likewise, they would agree to a reduction in numbers to the extent that those ensure stable and secure second strike forces. In the case of India and China, similar benefits might follow, more for India, as it could safely reduce the scale of its nuclear ambitions. Similarly, the naval competition between India and China in the Indian Ocean might also become a thing of the past. Now, amongst all these scenarios, the scenario I think that best describes the current state of affairs is ugly stability in South Asia, and which I think is increasingly moving towards teetering instability. And with that, I'd turn to Dr. Sullivan. Thank you.
We have heard Dr. Kampani's 4 scenarios that he has portrayed and has described, and has also given us his prognosis of what are the likely scenarios that might emerge. So that gives us food for thought, and I'm sure we can discuss it during an interactive session. I now call upon Dr. Naeem Saleh to give a Pakistani perspective on the issue of nuclear futures. And Dr. Saleh is well known. He has already spoken once before this morning, and we were faced with that kind of nightmare scenario where the speaker who was scheduled was suddenly was unable to come. But Dr. Saleh is knowledgeable on these things and is dependable to talk about any of the topics relating to nuclear matters. So we approached him, and he has kindly consented to speak on the topic of nuclear futures with a Pakistani perspective. So Dr. Naeem Saleh, and I don't want to run through his introduction anymore because we have done this in the morning. He is a distinguished visiting fellow with our think tank CISS, and he has done his PhD from Australia, and he has a very well-known book on the subject of nuclear deterrence in South Asia. So he is, I think, a bona fide scholar and a research person of good standing. So Dr. Saleh, I give you the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As you've all been knowing, as mentioned by the Chair himself, that I have been asked to fill in at a very short notice. So These are just random thoughts. I've not had time to really organize my thought process, but I hope I'll be able to make some sense. Once we talk about future, we cannot divorce future from past or present, because whatever is going to develop in the future has its roots in what happened in the past, because you cannot easily get rid of your past history, and what is happening in the future, in the present. Once India and Pakistan went nuclear in 1998, it was expected that there will be a period of stability in the region, and the relation between the two states would normalize gradually. And there was an early hope also after the Lahore Summit in 1999 and the Lahore MOU and Lahore Declaration. So the hopes were raised that the things were going in that direction, but unfortunately that did not materialize. What happened, in my opinion, is that the two states have not realized the nuclear reality. And the nuclear reality is that whatever else function nuclear weapons perform by way of providing you defense and deterrence, they also tend to freeze the status quo. And this reality has not dawned upon the two countries. And they are still trying in their own ways to change the status quo. The moment they realize that after nuclearization of the region, the status quo has been frozen and you have to come to the table, talk to each other, devise ways and means to resolve the disputes, only then we can start moving towards a period of relative peace and stability. Now I would look at the future possibilities under three areas. First of all is the international developments. Now internationally so many things are happening and are going to happen which are going to impact upon what happens in South Asia. We all know that the US policy of rebalance towards Asia Pacific is already underway. So it has not completely unfolded, it's still a process which is going on. And how it unfolds completely in the next decade or so will directly have an impact on the environment in South Asia. So this is going to be a very important factor, and what role India plays in US rebalance strategy, especially vis-a-vis checkmating China.